Daniel had always dreamed of photographing the untouched beauty of India's Satpura forest. He had read about its tigers, ancient trees, and echoing silence. So, with a backpack, a camera, and a thrill for adventure, he set out alone, confident in his skills. But as the sun dipped behind the horizon and thick shadows swallowed the trails, Daniel realized he had made a grave mistake. He was lost. His GPS had stopped working hours ago, his phone had no signal, and the forest around him had changed its tone. The chirping birds had gone quiet, replaced by eerie rustles and distant animal cries. He tried retracing his steps, but every path looked the same now. Trees towered over him like silent watchers, and each step he took deepened his confusion. The once vibrant forest now felt like a living maze, its beauty laced with menace. Panic crept in. He hadn't seen another person in hours, and nightfall was settling fast. The temperature dropped, and Daniel, who had once felt brave and curious, now felt exposed and helpless. Every snap of a twig sent a jolt of fear down his spine. Was something watching him? His heart pounded with each step. He shouted for help, but his voice was swallowed by the wilderness. Alone in the heart of an unforgiving forest, Daniel wasn't just fighting for direction anymore, he was fighting for hope. What he didn't know was that something far more terrifying was about to step into his path. Daniel stumbled through the underbrush, his flashlight flickering low. The darkness felt heavier now, as if the forest itself was pressing in on him. His breath came in short bursts, cold against the humid night air. He paused, trying to listen, hoping to hear a river, a voice, anything. But what reached his ears instead was the low, guttural growl of something far more dangerous. He turned slowly, and there, barely 10 yards away, stood a massive Royal Bengal tiger. Its golden fur shimmered faintly under the moonlight, and its eyes burned like twin coals in the dark. Daniel froze. The tiger wasn't rushing, wasn't roaring. It was watching. Studying. And then it took one silent step forward. Daniel's instincts screamed to run, but his legs wouldn't move. Every story he'd ever read about tiger attacks now played like a warning in his head. He held his breath, hoping maybe the animal would lose interest. But the tiger lowered its head, muscles coiled, ready to strike. It wasn't hunting out of rage or panic, it was simply nature in motion. For Daniel, time slowed. In that moment, he wasn't a photographer or a traveler. He was just another creature in the wild, at the mercy of the food chain. As the tiger crept closer, Daniel's heart pounded so loud he thought the beast could hear it. He whispered a prayer, convinced that these were the final moments of his life. But fate, and the forest, had other plans. Just as the tiger crouched low, ready to pounce, the stillness of the night shattered with a thunderous sound, a deep, echoing trumpet that rolled through the trees like a warning drum. The tiger paused, eyes narrowing, ears twitching. From between the trees, an enormous wild elephant emerged, its massive silhouette outlined against the moonlit canopy. With steady, determined steps, it marched toward the clearing, placing itself squarely between Daniel and the predator. Daniel, paralyzed by fear, could hardly comprehend what was happening. The tiger let out a low growl, agitated but cautious. And then, more chaos erupted, high-pitched screeches from above as a troop of monkeys began swinging from branch to branch, hurling sticks and shaking leaves in frantic protest. Bright green parakeets fluttered overhead, shrieking in warning. From the shadows, a pack of jungle dogs appeared, growling softly as they formed a loose circle around the clearing. The tiger, now surrounded by the forest's voices and defenders, took a few uncertain steps back. It looked once more at Daniel, this time not as prey, but as something protected. With a final snarl, the great beast turned and disappeared into the darkness from which it came. Daniel dropped to his knees, trembling, heart racing. Around him, the forest had come alive, not as a threat, but as a shield. It was as if the jungle itself had decided he was worth saving. In that moment, Daniel realized he had witnessed something rare, a silent alliance of creatures acting not on instinct, but on something deeper, compassion. Daniel sat motionless on the damp forest floor, his hands trembling as he tried to make sense of what had just happened. The tiger was gone, but the elephant remained, still and calm, like a silent guardian. Its massive trunk reached out gently, brushing Daniel's shoulder with a softness he didn't think possible from a creature so powerful. Tears welled in his eyes, not from fear, but from overwhelming emotion. Why had they saved him? These animals, these wild, untamed beings, what had moved them to protect a lost human? He looked up at the monkeys now quietly watching from the trees, the parakeets circling above, the dogs settling down nearby. It wasn't chaos anymore. It was harmony. It was as if the forest itself had chosen to spare him, not out of randomness, but out of some unspoken understanding. In that moment, something inside Daniel shifted. All his life, he had observed nature from behind a lens, capturing it, documenting it, admiring it, but always as an outsider. Tonight, though, he wasn't just a visitor. He had become part of something greater. He had felt kindness in its rawest, most instinctual form, from creatures that owed him nothing. He placed a hand gently on the elephant's leg, whispering a broken, "Thank you." The elephant stood still, then slowly turned and began walking away, back into the heart of the forest. One by one, the other animals followed. And Daniel was left behind, not abandoned, but awakened. He would never see the world the same way again. As the first light of dawn filtered through the thick canopy, Daniel stood at the edge of a small clearing, weary but alive. Hours had passed since the tiger's retreat, and the forest had gradually returned to its calm rhythm. A distant hum of insects, the rustle of leaves, and the occasional call of a bird now felt strangely comforting. Then, faint voices reached his ears, human voices. A group of local forest rangers and villagers appeared, their eyes widening in disbelief at the sight of him. Mud-streaked, barefoot, and shaken, Daniel looked like he had barely survived a war. They rushed to him, asking what had happened. But as he tried to explain, words felt too small for what he had experienced. He pointed toward the jungle, whispering, "They saved me, the animals." Some chuckled kindly, thinking he was confused from fear. But when they found massive elephant footprints and monkey tracks all around where he had spent the night, their faces turned from amusement to awe. Daniel wasn't imagining things, something extraordinary had taken place. Back in New York months later, Daniel's photos made headlines. But he didn't return to the forest to take more. Instead, he partnered with local communities to build a wildlife care and rescue center near the Satpura Range. It became his life's work, to give back to the beings who had shown him what true compassion looked like. Because sometimes, the wildest places teach us the most human lessons. And Daniel never forgot who taught him his.